Tech layoffs seem to be cooling off, but will hiring actually recover? A lot of folks are still struggling to find work, especially at the junior level, with a lot of positions seeing thousands of applicants for a single role. I'm going to share with you 3 key points in this video that might help us answer this question, with the third actually going over when we might see a meaningful recovery. So let's jump right in with number 1, which is the massive glut of software engineers currently looking for work thanks to the layoffs of the past. As you can see, 90,000 engineers lost their job in January of this year alone. Now, that is the peak of it. It does seem to be tapering off, as you can tell with the chart. But the result of this is that there are hundreds of thousands of engineers that are currently looking for work, all at a time where there's a massive economic decline and a lot of uncertainty, leading to fewer positions available. What this does is it creates a supply and demand imbalance where there's way more engineers available than there are positions. This results in thousands of applications per job posting. So will supply and demand actually get back to equilibrium? Well, the answer is yes, right? Typically, this is how markets work. How fast, how long will it take? That depends on how long it takes to get through this glut of engineers and how long it can take for them to backfill into these new roles that are opening up. There aren't that many roles at the moment, and so it's going to be a bit of a slow process. We need things to kind of pick up in the economy before it really gets back to normal. In point number 3, I'm going to talk about the economic indicator that I believe will show us when we will start to see that recovery. But first, I need to talk about point number 2, which is my analysis of the overall health of the tech industry moving forward over the next 5 to 10 years, specifically related to jobs. So according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they predict that software engineering careers will increase by 25% between now and 2031, as opposed to 5% for all jobs. This really lines up with my personal feeling and view on the tech industry, which is that it's really not going anywhere. I mean, if you think about the large swaths of industry that are still using antiquated technology, you think about the fact that education, entertainment, all of these things are converging and people are spending significantly more time online and connected into this new world that we're building. It just makes sense that there's going to be more and more opportunities to make money in the technology space, both in terms of applying the technology and making products with it, but also in terms of building it itself. I think AI, for example, is going to have a massive impact across the board, especially as people start to figure out how to actually apply it into different problems and start building custom solutions using AI and taking advantage of it. Chatbots are cool and they're fun, but I think they represent a really small sliver of the huge scope that AI is going to have on all of our lives, especially 10, 15, 20 years from now. But even in the next 5. By the way, if you're a software engineer and you're worried about AI actually taking your job, this video up here is not only going to go over how to survive post-AI, but how to actually learn some skills that will help you thrive and do better as a result of AI being a part of your life. The key point here is that just like in the dot-com bust, just like in 2008, everything about this industry and really every industry is cyclical. There are downturns, but typically we get through them, and I think this is going to be no exception. So we know now that supply and demand will equalize and things will start to get better as the jobs start to open up and the glut of developers backfill into these roles. But when will that start to happen? When will these roles actually start to open up? This brings me on to point number 3, which is high interest rates. Look, when interest rates are high, this adds expense to everything that businesses do. A lot of businesses rely on small loans and capital to handle their operating costs on a daily basis and maintain cash flow. Interest itself is a bigger line item on everyone's budget, and therefore they have less available to spend on other things. What this does is that people spend less, the economy starts to slow down, you kind of see how the cycle works, and we're in one of those cycles right now. So the Fed is pretty clear that they're using these high interest rates to combat inflation. When you have high interest rates, that slows down the economy and therefore, in theory at least, cools off inflation, and we see that. Inflation definitely is kind of past its peak. There's a lot of folks who are still kind of going back and forth on whether we're fully past it or not, and I think there's not really much consensus on that, but what there is consensus on is that it's definitely past the peak. It used to be a whole lot worse than it currently is. It's currently sitting somewhere between 3 and 5%, depending on which economist you ask, which is very different from the 9 and 10% that we saw last year. This is the point in the video where I'm going to start speculating a little bit, but based on the current rate of decline of inflation, my guess is that we're going to hit that 2% target at some point in the middle of next year. Which means in theory, the Fed is going to start lowering the rates at some point in the middle of 2024, maybe late 2024. Which again, in theory, means the economy is going to start picking up early 2025. That's my guess. So to summarize, look, we're clearly in the middle of a downturn, and it's not a fun time if you're looking for work at the moment or if you're trying to break into the industry. It's a rough time out there. However, if you take a long-term view, say the next 10 to 15 years, tech is still clearly the place to be. I mean, technology is not going anywhere. It's only going to increase its influence on all of our lives and really on all industries as things get more advanced. And if you look at these interest rates, which are definitely a bit high right now and are definitely kind of holding things back, I think it's fair to assume that once they start coming down, whenever they do, jobs will start opening up again, the economy will start moving again across the board, and over time, things will start to normalize. So until then, stay strong. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Peace out.